Hi guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to the desktop for another rules breakdown. And this week I would like to cover Shadowrun 3rd edition as it won the poll this week. Now, Shadowrun rules didn't actually change that much between 1st, 2nd and 3rd edition. So if you see my rules breakdowns for 1st and 2nd edition, they're going to be very similar to this one. Now, Shadowrun is very much a buckets of dice system, which is why I have so many d6s here. So if we flick over to one of the templates, I'm going to use the Investigator, as I like the cut of his jib. He looks a cool character. Now, skills in Shadowrun are based around how many dice you roll against a target number. So, the Investigator here has etiquette skill of 5. So if he's trying to speak to somebody, trying to use his etiquette, he's going to be rolling 5 dice. Now, the times this changes is, if you look at the skills, they all have a base attribute. So clubs, for example, is based on strength. So since the Investigator doesn't have club skill, he can default to strength, but the target number will be 4 points higher for defaulting. But that's how it works. Every skill is connected up to one of his attributes, and you can default through that at a +4 target number. Now, the standard target number in Shadowrun is 4, but these can be modified up and down. So things can be simpler, or they can be much, much harder. Target numbers can go up very, very high. Now, obviously, you can't roll something over a 6 on a d6. So the way it works is, if you roll a 6, then you roll an add. So if your target number is 14, for example, you're going to need to roll 2 6s in a row, followed by a 2 to get that 14. Now, 1s don't do anything, except if you fail. If you have no successes, but you have some 1s, then it changes the fail into a botch, which has more serious effects. But anyway, rolling his etiquette skill at 5d. He's trying to get some information out of somebody by being polite. So rolling 5 dice against a target number of 4. And there you go, he gets 3 successes, which indicates that not only has he passed the test, but he's done better. Now, initiative in Shadowrun 3rd edition is based around the reaction stat. So the Investigator here has a reaction of 5, and he rolls 1d6 and adds. So he rolls a 1, so he gets a 6. So the Investigator goes in 6, initiative-wise. If we flick back a couple of pages, though, the Adept here has a reaction of 6 brackets 8. And that's brackets 8 because he gets a +2 bonus from his increased reflexes. The increased reflexes don't just give him the +2, they also give him an extra dice, as does wired reflexes and other enhanced reflex systems. So he's got 8 plus 2 is d6, which gives him a total of 14. So the Investigator goes in 6. Now, as we work this out, the Adept goes in 14, and then he will go again in 4. But the Investigator goes in 6, so goes in between. The Adept gets to act, then the Investigator gets to act, and then the Adept gets to act again. Now, the first thing in combat we've got to bear in mind is that every character has what's called a combat pool, which is their quickness plus their intelligence plus their willpower divided by 2. So the Adept has a quickness of 6, an intelligence of 6, and a willpower of 4. So it gets a total of 16. So it has a combat pool of 8. Whereas the Investigator has a quickness of 5, an intelligence of 5, and a willpower of 5, so 15. So gets a combat pool of 7. Now, these refresh every time you get to act, but attempting to avoid damage by dodging or resisting damage comes out of your combat pool. You can also use your combat pool to add to attacks. So the Adept here is attempting to hit with a club. So he gets a skill of 7, so put 7 dice aside. And let's say he will take 3 points out of his 8 pool. So 3 more dice. So he's rolling 10 dice. So we roll. Now, he gets only 1 success there. That was a pretty terrible roll. 2 1s, because he did get a success, don't count as anything. But he's only got 1 6, which he hits the standard target number of 4. Now, going over to the Investigator, well, he's got his pool of 7. Now, he doesn't want to be hit, so we're going to roll all 7 dice as he attempts to dodge out of the way. Now this means that he has no combat pool until his next action. So if it was a big brawl and there were several people shooting around, he would be completely defenseless against the next attack. But he can spend all of them if he wants. So we roll the dice, and he has 5 successes there. So that takes the adept's 1 success and gets rid of it, and leaves him with 4 net successes on his defense, meaning that the investigator doesn't get hit. So then we get to the investigator. Well, he has nothing left to roll, so he rolls his pistol skill of 4. So we roll. No success. 1 success. So he manages to hit the adept. The adept this time isn't going to attempt to dodge, so it's hit. So we have the base damage of the investigator's attack. Now for damage, we need to look up the weapons. So the investigator's shooting a pistol. So if we go to the street gear section, we look for pistols here. And we will say he has a Colt American pistol, which does 6L damage. Now, 6L means that the adept needs to resist using his body and any armor, a target number of 6. So the adept has 5 dice. And he gets 2 successes. He gets 2 6s there. Well, what you need is 2 successes against the target number to stage everything down. And that 6L damage means it was a 6 light wound, because the wound levels in Shadowrun are deadly, serious, moderate, and light, and then nothing. So the 2 staging down of a 6L wound takes that down to nothing. So he has resisted the damage completely. Now, if the investigator on his attack had got multiple successes, he could have staged the damage up. And it's far more likely to stage the damage up, because the target number is only going to be what you needed to hit, which is a standard 4, but if you're using a smart gun link and things, can be much lower. So the investigator has a higher chance of staging the damage up, and for every 2 successes over the 1 he gets to hit, he stages up. So that light damage pistol can be staged up to moderate with 2 successes, up to serious with 4 successes, up to deadly with 6 successes. And then the adept needs to stage it back down to try and get it to 0. Also worth noticing is that is the second place that your combat pool can come into it. So the adept still had some points of combat pool left over. So if he had taken some damage, he could have actually allocated dice out of his combat pool to add to his body to give him a much higher chance of resisting the damage. Plus, of course, not forgetting that armor adds to your body to resist damage. Now, health in Shadowrun is monitored by use of a condition monitor. If we flick over to the character sheet at the back of the book, we can see condition monitor here, which consists of 2 tracks of 10 boxes, one which monitors stun damage and one which monitors physical damage. And you can see that the end of the stun damage goes on to physical here. That's because if you take stun damage beyond your 10 boxes, then it starts physically damaging you. Now, this doesn't happen usually in combat and things, but can happen to mages, where they take drain from a spell, which gives them stun damage. And if they fail another spell particularly badly, then it can actually start to do them physical damage. Now, stun damage heals up very quickly, whereas physical damage takes days to heal up, or even requires hospital visits. Now, the 10 boxes are marked out as light wounds, moderate wounds, serious wounds, and deadly wounds. A light wound is 1 box, a moderate wound is 3 boxes, a serious wound is 6 boxes, and a deadly wound is all 10. And they have increasing disadvantages. So a light wound adds 1 to your target numbers and -1 to initiative. Moderate, -2 to your target +2 to your target numbers, -2 to initiative. Serious, +3 to target numbers, -3 to initiative. And when you reach deadly, you're unconscious, or you're unconscious, possibly dead, for physical damage. Now, it doesn't matter how you reach each of these levels. If you take 3 light wounds, you'll reach moderate. If you take a moderate wound on top of your 3 light wounds, then you're up at serious. and you take the disadvantages as you hit each. And damage can accumulate that way. So you can be chipped away by taking 10 light wounds and being killed, or you can take it all as one deadly wound or any mixture. Now, advancement in Shadowrun is monitored through a system called Karma. If we flip back to page 245 here, we can see there's rules on awarding Karma and then spending it. Now, you can increase them up to your racial limits at a cost of double. So increasing your strength from 5 to 6 costs 2 times the 6, so it costs 12 good Karma. Whereas increasing it beyond that up to 1.5 times, so Elf's body can usually only become 6, but you can increase it up to 9. But increasing it up to 7 will cost 21, because that's over the base and now costs 3 times. Improving skills is based on the attribute that it's linked to. So if you're trying to increase a skill which is linked to your strength, for example, and your strength is 5, then the base skill, if it's less than or equal to the attribute rating, costs 1.5 times. If it's less than or equal to twice the attribute rating, then it costs 2 times. And if it's more than double the attribute rating, it costs 2.5 times. So increasing the attribute helps you increase skills below that by decreasing the cost. Specializations, which are skills which are much more refined, cost less. So less than equal to the attribute rating costs only half. So if you're increasing your handgun skill, it's going to cost 1.5 times. But if you're increasing your skill with a particular pistol, so Walther PPK James Bond pistol, it's only going to cost you 0.5 of the cost. Or 1 times if it's equal to, or to 2 times the attribute rating, or if it's more than 2 times the attribute rating, it's 1.5 times. So it's far easier to increase specializations. There are also separate costs for knowledge and language skills, which cost less as well. So you can increase your knowledges far faster than you can increase active skills like shooting guns, dodging, etc. So that is a very brief look over Shadowrun 3rd edition. Now, I've skipped over the decking rules, I've skipped over all the magic, but basically they work over the same standard system, that you're getting a number of dice to roll, you're getting a target number, and you're rolling against that to get successes. And 2 dice are staging up or staging down damage in those situations. But there's no way I could cover everything in Shadowrun, because there are so many options available. It is a very complex system. But what I've laid out should get you through the first couple of sessions if you were playing 3rd edition. But as usual, I think I've whittled on for quite long enough. So thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment below, as it does me massive favours with the YouTube algorithm. But as always, most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.